You're listening to the Nerd to Know Media Network. Join us at nerdtoknowmedia.com.
Broadcasting from the Blanchistan Center, this is Phoenix FM.
The internet is a communications tool used the world over where people can come together to bitch about movies.
According to the Nerd Index, you should be upside down in a junior high toilet around the clock.
This is we're going live. Time goes in, time goes out. Never miscommunication.
It's over 9,000. My name is Foxy.
The balls are in there. Do a barrel roll. Don't chase me, bro. It's a trap. I'm a firing money. Time to Hey, Charlie, wake up. Oh, God, oh, man.
Hello, and welcome to this week's edition of the Nerd to Know Basis Show, airing on Phoenix 92.5 FM and all those wonderful places on the internet. I am Cian, and with me this week is Dara. Say hello.
Ahoy.
Ahoy. It's lovely to be chatting with you again in between extended travel breaks. Tell us what far-flung locations you've been to since last time you've been on the show.
Oh my God. Everywhere. It's you know, I don't mean to go everywhere, but it just kind of happens. And like this, I know it happened last year as well, and you're like, that's a pattern there. I'm like, no, not really, because I just kind of forget things. Because what happened is, right, I agree to things,
Yeah.
and then those things come up.
That's your first mistake.
Yeah, well, I agree to things, and then I'm just like, oh yeah, sure, that's ages away. And then what? And then Keen, do you know what happens?
What?
They all arrive at the same time. And then you end up in Dublin Airport 10 times in the space of a month, which happened last year, and like 7 times this year. So since we last talked, I was in London, Bristol, Cardiff, Glasgow, and somewhere else I can't remember. So yeah, loads of different places. And then
a stage where like the duty-free staff are recognizing it.
No, but the plane staff do.
Ah, okay.
Which was not good. Because last year we were doing a tour in Cardiff, and I got on another plane a couple of days later, and the air hostess was like, "Oh, where are the rest of the lads?" And I was like, "Oh God." I'm on planes too. Like what happens is, and it's kind of happened now, where like Ryanair for me is a bus. That's what it feels like when I get on a Ryanair plane. And that's not a jab at them. I mean, they're usually short flights. So like for me to get into the city, it's usually an hour and a bit. And those flights are shorter. So it's like a 45-minute flight is like shorter than a bus into town for me. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with flying, which I don't know if that's weird or not, but we do live on an island. So
well, that is true. Yeah.
I mean, when you think about it, like we live on an island, and I'm not good with boats. I don't know if you notice or not, Keen, but the listeners probably don't notice either. But I'm not good on boats. I really can't do it. So the prospect of me getting a ferry is genuinely terrifying. So that's why I'm just like, hey, I will fly. It's €16 maybe. And I'll just do that. And it's just an expensive bus.
All right. Well, in between your travels, because we should say ahead, and I know we always say, like, you know, we're going to cover this, and this, and we only manage like 2 things.
But there is only two of us.
That doesn't matter.
No, I mean, we're a little bit better when there's just the 2 of us, Kate. When there's more.
All right, we'll see. Well, you have a few films you want to talk about. I have a few TV things you want to talk about. But in your travels, did you manage to catch that wonderful Irish tradition that is the Late Late Toy Show?
I would literally rather do anything else.
What is wrong with you?
I just can't stand it. And look, if you're listening to this and you're going, "Oh, it's the best thing ever," I'm like, you know what? I'm happy for you. I'm glad you
are
enjoy
correct, listener.
You're correct. It's just I hate it. It's like my idea of hell is the toy show being the only thing I can watch. And it's not, maybe it's because I don't have kids, maybe it's blah, blah, blah. But I hate Christmas. So, I mean, the whole thing just isn't geared for me. I don't have kids that enjoy it. I don't like Christmas. Uh, I hate RT's way of presenting things. It's just all in all bad, and I just don't understand the appeal of it. I mean, I get it's a meme in Ireland and whatever, but I'm like, no, no. So when it's on, I have this like sense of disgust throughout the whole day, and it goes away on like the Monday.
No, it doesn't.
No, for me it does. The disgust.
Speaking as someone who has been to several schools this week, like, the toy show, like the week after the toy show, like it's this wonderful thing where everyone has seen it and you can it's kind of a water cooler thing. You can talk with kids and adults and they've all seen it and it's really wholesome. And it's great to see everyone getting excited about kind of these little like live human moments. I love it. I think it's super uplifting. Christmas doesn't start for me without the toy show.
See, I think they should ban it.
But why? Just don't watch it if it bothers you.
I don't watch it. It's just I don't look. I mean, they should. I don't know. I don't even know what I'm saying. I just hate it. I've always hated the toy show, and not for any reason. I don't have like a vendetta against it. I just think it's terrible television. It's like,
but like,
it's like James Corden, right? I hate.
Oh, don't you dare!
It triggers the exact same part of me where I'm like, oh my god, I am physically repulsed by this. So,
is your heart flint to seeing those children achieve their dreams live in front of you, like not what trigger something in your soul?
What dreams? What are you talking about?
They're like the girls are in the middle of like singing Matilda, and the real Matilda from the film popped up, and they all had to keep going, and they were crying from happiness and all that. Wait,
which Matilda? The one from the 90s?
No, not Mara Wilson. No, the Netflix, the musical film that came out last year.
I don't even know what that is. So
it was like the biggest film of last year. You go to cinema so much. I thought you'd seen it by accident, at least.
No, you see, I don't know what that is. So I mean,
there's a Matilda musical by Tim Minchin, and they made a film out of it.
No, I have no interest in that. So I mean, that's the thing. I wouldn't know about that. So it would have.
See, that's proof that you and me go in different circles. Because, like, as somebody who's like in the schools 24/7, I've had the entire Matilda soundtrack like glued to the back of my head.
Yeah, look, but I mean that makes sense. I'm as I said, you work in a school and have children.
Like all Christmas stuff you don't like, or just the toy show?
All Christmas stuff.
Okay, I can see why you're not the target demographic then.
I'm not the target, like, at all. I mean, look, I think the reason why I don't like Christmas really, I'm like rehabilitating Christmas because I worked so long in retail. It's weird that you work so long in retail and still like Christmas, but then again,
I'm the opposite.
You're like a really
Christmas
good person.
That was like my life raft in retail. I loved it.
See, that's what I mean. I was just like, not a bit in The Simpsons where Bart is like, Krusty is coming.
Yeah.
Krusty is coming. That was kind of me through the whole time. I'm like, this will be over soon. It will be over soon. And I haven't been able to like Christmas like really since, like, I mean, like last year when I went to Disneyland around Christmas time, it was amazing and that kind of worked. I was like, oh, I actually really like this now. And but otherwise I'm just like, oh, I hate Christmas. So it's just like, I think there just needs to be like a space where they don't do these things, and they're like, okay, it's just a Tuesday.
Well, the space where they don't do this is every other day of the year the toy show isn't on.
Yeah, I don't know. It needs to just, okay, the way Comic-Con used to be, where like everyone who was into it went to it, and it's just only the people who are really into it were into it.
Oh yeah, I got you. Yeah,
and that's what the toy show should be. They should just be like, yeah, no, okay, if you like it, cool, but don't like tell anybody. Because I hate, when you're on Facebook and you see like stupid memes from you. What is
actually? I thought the toy show had a surprisingly little Facebook presence this year, at least compared to previous years.
Because it was even worse than normal.
Well, yeah, but like it's live. Like, I mean,
yeah, but man, I watch wrestling, right? WWE's always live. It doesn't make it good.
Don't you run a podcast on wrestling?
Yeah, but a lot of it is us saying how bad wrestling is. Or how good
There's
it
that
is.
element to the toy show too. Look, I mean, we've got a lot of films to cover.
Okay,
but, like,
hold on.
To me, a mark of a good toy show is 5 like standout moments where either something heartwarming happens or something goes catastrophically wrong. And
But these aren't symbols of like something going wrong. It's like that's not a symbol of a good thing. I mean, that's just poor television. I mean, like, look, okay, and you're gonna think I'm saying harsh, right? But when a kid messes up, I mean, the once or twice I walked past it, some kid has been doing something stupid, and I'm like, "What are you doing? You're playing with that wrong. Why are you doing that? Do it properly." And that would drive me mad. So I mean,
I would love to see you host the toy show now. You're playing it wrong.
Exactly. So I mean that doesn't bring joy, you know.
I mean, that's what Pat Kenny did back in the day, wasn't it?
But I don't know. I didn't watch it then, but that would just irk me, right? But the other side of it is like, okay, if something heartwarming happens, I mean, that's subjective. I mean, I didn't even notice until I just be like, who's your one? You know, it's just a tough sell for somebody who isn't. I think you need to really buy into it. And you know, there's certain people who are like, oh, the toy show's on, and they sit there with their pajamas and they're like 40 and it's bizarre.
I'm literally wearing my pajamas right now.
But but so am I. But I mean, they're sitting there.
No, I mean my toy show pajamas.
Oh well, okay. I've got no response. But you know, they're sitting there and they're like, and they're like, oh, that's so cool. I'm just like, okay, whatever. You know, it's just a bit strange for me, but at the same time, I'm like,
yeah,
we go to Comic Cons. You know,
what about when the kids put like the presenter in their place though? Like when they turn up with loads of attitude and like and they're smart Alex and they kind of put the adults on the back foot. Is there nothing that like kind of you'd find charming about that?
Well, that's just bold children.
No, not necessarily. There was a lad, Shavy, this year who turned up with like a mullet and like he was like basically putting Patrick guilty in his place, like, you know, laying down the law before he even started talking about Lego and stuff. And you can kind of see
who's Patrick
your
Gilly?
man kind of sweating with bullets.
But who's Patrick
He was
Gilty?
so confident, you know.
Where was Ryan Tuberty?
Ryan Tuberty's gone. Where have you been this year?
Man, I don't watch RTE. I don't know.
It's like news, though.
Yeah, I don't know. So what?
RTE got engulfed in scandal. It lasted months.
No, I knew that, but I thought Ryan Tuberty was still doing the toy show.
No. Patrick Keelty's been running it for like 2 or 3 months now.
All right. Okay. Well, there you go. See, that's my level of. I don't. That's what I'm saying to you. I genuinely don't know.
All right. Well, tell you what. I won't subject you to any more of this, but I will just say that I enjoyed it, and I will
and you know
endeavor not to ask you about it again.
No, and you know, Keen, right? No, this is important because this is a good control. This is like when I talk about something that you don't know anything about. It for me, I'm just like, you know, there's just certain things I just actively avoid to the point of just not knowing about them. And yeah, usually just, but I know a lot of people really enjoyed the Late Late Toy Show. And I mean, if people do enjoy it and they're like, oh, how can Darby be so heartless? I'm like, it's not that I'm heartless. I just act like I try to go along with, if I don't like something, I don't try to engage with it because then you get annoyed and you get angry. And the reason why I'm this way is because of J.J. Abrams' Star Wars.
Oh my God. That is the biggest like reach you've ever done. That was like
not a reach. It's not a reach. Every time I think about
ballet it, dancer leap.
Every time I think about it, I get upset. So I try not to think about it. To the point that I don't.
All right. Well, you know what? I'm going to segue off your like backflip into Star Wars there. I believe you've got 3 films you want to talk about.
Yeah. So we can talk about 2 that are in the cinema or one really silly one that I saw yesterday.
Start with the silly, obviously.
Okay. So this is a real movie, first of all. It's a real movie. It's not like a fake movie. It came out in the 80s and we watched it in the Taekwondo with a bunch of Taekwondo people yesterday. It's called Miami Connection, right? So it's set in Orlando, Florida, right, in the 80s. And it's about a rock band who are all Taekwondo people. They sing songs about Taekwondo. And they have to fight ninjas that sell drugs.
Yeah, I was right. By the way, I see Red Letter Media did cover this way back when. So
apparently, how did this get made? But I haven't actually heard that episode.
Okay, well, tell us first of all, what drew you to go see this? Like, you know, like what?
Well, I didn't. I didn't. It was like a movie night after training, so we were sparring, and we're like, "Let's what which
I
movie do
know,
you
but
want to watch?"
someone somewhere must have been like Miami Connection. Let's go. Like who
Well, I
who
mean,
who inspired this?
so it's a movie literally made like from the ground up, written, directed, and everyone in it is in this one Taekwondo school in Orlando, and it's like this grandmaster's like letter to the world to inspire world peace through violence. Um, I mean that's what we took away from it, and that's kind of what's kind of why we watched it because it's like a movie where Taekwondo is like a huge part of it. And they're very rare, so that's why we watched it, I guess.
Okay, well, give us a rundown of like the basic plot shape.
So the basis, so it starts off with ninjas stealing drugs, right? And then
Right.
it smash cuts to like a rock band playing, and then it turns out that the rock band bassist is dating the keen ninjas slash drug lords sister, and
Okay, I'm getting like a Buckaroo Banzai vibe off this
yeah,
now.
there's like three or four different plot lines that are running through this, and then it ends up where the drug lord gets killed, and he turns out to be the brother of the main ninja, and the main ninja has to fight the Taekwondo people. But they're
So
all,
the
but they're,
ninjas and the drug lords are on the same team.
we think so.
Right.
We think
And
so.
how do our heroes fit into this then?
They're a rock and roll band that are all
Right.
orphans from different parts of the world who are united by their love of being an orphan, Taekwondo, and music.
Sounds like Final Fantasy VIII.
This look, it's a very complex movie. It has a
Right.
lot of moving parts. All these parts are bad. But I mean, here's the thing: the songs in it are like proper little bangers, And I was just like, yeah, this is pretty good. But
so is this like a fighting musical then, or what?
well, no, there's songs in it because they're a rock band, so they play their songs.
Right.
But then they do fighting as well.
Okay, but I'm still like trying to grasp like the tone. Is this like a comedy? Is it action? Like
I look, I think what happened here is it's supposed to be like The Room. It was supposed to be like a serious movie
okay.
that has just become hilarious because it's actively bad, but it's also really funny at the same time. Like the
Well, like
violence.
give me some like standout scenes then. Like
Okay, well, look, as I said, it's very like The Room, and not the one where they lock the young one in the cellar, like the Tommy Wiseau's room.
yeah.
Again, a lot of people are talking to yesterday. I was like, The Room, and they're like, oh my god. I'm like, no, not
Did
that
you
one.
open with The Room? That's so funny.
Yeah, no,
Did you get in
literally.
trouble with that?
Yeah, and I'm like, wait, no, not that one, not the one with the young one, the Tommy Wiseau one. And then I was just like, oh my god.
The drama one is just called Room. That's if anyone gets it wrong and you say The Room, that's on them.
Okay, well that's definitely on them.
Yeah.
I mean, but I'm shocked that like Tommy Wiseau's The Room doesn't hold that cultural significance like it used to, and I think it's
Got
because
there
of how
first.
it did get there first. And I
Yeah.
mean, I haven't seen Room, so I don't. I just
Room is
know
really good.
No, look, from the reaction of when you say it, I'm like, I don't particularly want to see that movie. It's like when you say Martyrs.
Oh, don't get me wrong, it's not a fun time, but it's a really good film.
Yeah, I know, but come on, man. I mean, it's so is Martyrs, but I don't ever want. By the way, never. No one ever watched Martyrs. It's
Sorry, I'm distracting you now. Miami Connection.
Miami Connection.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So, where was it? Okay. So hold on. What was the setup again? You got me distracted here. What was
Anyway, so highlights, best moments.
highlights? Yes. Thank you. Right. So aside from like the camera work and the ADR, which is the worst ADR I've ever seen in my life, like, they're literally having full conversations to the back of someone's head. Right. That's how bad it is, right? So there's all kind of stuff, but then there's like the random montages are amazing. Like they're on a beach for no reason, and it's just like awkward following people on a beach.
Yeah.
And it's just like, what is going on? The bar scene is hilarious where they go into a bar randomly, and I can't describe what's goes on in the bar because it's
Well, do
5
they
o'clock.
fight or do they sing?
Oh no, neither. This is a different bar. You just go into a bar where there's women of the night there, and things happen of that nature.
Okay.
But yeah, the songs are pretty good as like genuinely, But okay, so some of the best moments, like the fight scenes, are actually pretty good. To be fair, I mean,
Well, you
that's
said
not.
are these all these actors from the same school then, or
See,
what?
they're not actors. That's the thing. The acting is
Right, my
horrific.
mistake.
They're all
Performers
martial.
then.
They're all martial artists who just happen to be in the movie because they're all from the same school.
Right, okay.
So, like, I think only one person is an actor. The rest of them just aren't. So none of them actually can act at all. Like, it's really bad. But the fight scenes are pretty cool. The gore is hilarious. Like at the end of it, like they're fighting each other with samurai swords, and like it's weird. So they're all using like these katanas, but they're all like different levels of like effectiveness. Like someone will get hit and they fall over. Another one, like arms and heads get just chopped off. And it's like properly graphic, and you're like, oh my god, someone's just disemboweled. But yeah, it's pretty funny. And I don't think the point of the movie was for it to be as funny as it is, but it's still
But
very funny.
the best bad films are not they're never set out to be bad
No,
films.
see, I think the earnest and the thing about it is at the end of it, it's like this is dedicated to world peace, and I'm like, it's literally the most violent thing I've seen in a long time.
Yes, okay. This is bringing back the red letter media flashbacks.
Yeah, but see,
Yeah, okay.
I haven't actually. I'm gonna watch that
I'll link
afterwards.
it to
But
you. But
please
like,
do, please
but
do.
here's the question though: Who
Yeah,
is this movie for? To our listening public, who would
jeez,
enjoy this?
I think there was a good mixed demographic last night when we were watching it. Like we're all after training, we'd all been sparring and stuff like that, and it was a lot of different age groups. So there was like, uh, college age up,
Hmm.
male and female, that kind of thing. So I mean, and we all enjoyed it. We were all like, what the hell actually was that? But we
Hmm.
had more fun making fun of it. Um, and I think it would be fun for all of us to watch it, like for a panel or something. I think that would
Oh
be
yeah,
really
absolutely.
because it is one of those kind of movies where you can watch it and like have a communal experience with it because it's very much like The Room, and it's very cliche, but like when you watch The Room, it's an experience. You're like, actually, what was that?
But
And you
like
have
you're saying with bad films, it's an experience best shared with people. Like,
absolutely, and then you want to talk about it, and it's improved from it. Now, if you were watching it by yourself, I don't think you would enjoy it, or if you weren't watching it.
yeah,
Like if I said, "Oh, Keen, go and watch that. You'll have a great time." You'd be like,
yeah.
"Oh, what was that?" But if you were like watching it and we came in and talked about it, I think that would be super fun. And it's just it's kind of like it's so bad it's good kind of thing, but it is a movie best shared with people. So look, to answer your question, if you are stuck for a random like party movie, go watch it. Or if you
Okay.
or if you really like Taekwondo, that's it.
Okay, well that's very concise there for Miami Connection there. Now you also saw two cinematic releases. Would
I
you
did.
take us through those, please?
So I went to go see Dream Sequence during the week. And this was like on Thursday, and we all know what
This
happened
is
on
the
Thursday.
Nicolas Cage thing that's being advertised around the place.
Correct. And I wanted to see it for a while. I didn't actually get a chance to sit in and see it because I went to go see that horrible new Marvel movie, which I did enjoy, but
Oh,
on
I've
reflect
seen that too. We'll talk about that in a
we'll
second.
talk about that in a second, yeah. Um, all right, so it's weird. It's a weird movie, right? But it's like not Nicolas Cage weird. It's just like, have you ever seen Being John Malkovich?
I actually haven't, no.
That's a good flick. That's a really good actually. It's kind of like that. It's kind of like a Nicolas Cage other movie. It's called Audition. It's where he's the writer.
Hmm.
That's pretty good too. And it's one of those like slower burning Nicolas Cage movies.
Well, what's the premise just to start off?
So
Because even the
so
ad's a bit misleading on that.
yeah. So the premise basically they say it as like a drama comedy horror, which it kind of
Hmm.
all is in different points. So basically it's about there's this meme around where for years where there's this everybody sees this guy in their dreams,
Right.
right? And that's a real meme. Like you can look it up. It's a thing. But basically Nicolas Cage is that guy, right? Where he just shows up in people's dreams. And then it goes through, he becomes a celebrity because people start getting onto it. And then eventually he becomes like the dreams are really violent and graphic. So people are afraid of him. He becomes like public enemy number one, even though he hasn't done anything, right? And it's
So
about
yeah, this is what I was curious about then. So he isn't actively putting himself in people's dreams. It
no,
just
no, it just
happens to be
happens.
happening to him as much as anyone else.
Yeah, but it's just happening to him, and he becomes really famous for it. And it's kind of like a whole thing, but then the dreams become violent. And it kind of goes from there. But it's like it's not a movie you think it's going to be. It's a very slow moving movie, but it is quite good. The cast is like very good. His family are the women who play his family are really good. Michael Cera's in it, which is very weird. And yeah,
Why is that weird?
because Michael Cera's weird. Anytime he's in anything, you know it's going to be weird.
I'll take your word for it. He's just Scott Pilgrim to me.
See, that's what I mean. That's what I mean. Like, he is Scott Pilgrim, but when he shows up in something else, you're like, oh, this is gonna like. Have you seen? Again, I can't even mention them because like we're on. But have you seen? This is the end.
No, but last thing I saw him was Black Mirror, apart from the Netflix Scott Pilgrim thing.
Okay. Yeah, like in that film, that's or there's a few other ones where Michael Cera's in it. Like for me, when he's in something that isn't Scott Pilgrim, you don't know what you're gonna get.
Oh,
Like
I
it's
see.
gonna,
The fact that he's involved is like a sign.
yeah, like it's going to be good. Like it's usually
Yeah.
similar quality, but you don't know how mad it's going to be.
Right.
And this kind of like is a very muted performance, but it's also really funny at the same time. Yeah, and look, I mean that's the kind of thing you never really know what you're gonna get there. But the movie itself is like it's very muted. It's really funny. It's very entertaining, but at the same time you're like, kind of see what the end game is. So when it shows up, it just kind of like ends. You're like, oh, but it is still very very good, and it's these kind of movies that Nicolas Cage does, like he's known for doing bad movies, which is, I mean, it's honored, right, and it's deserved. But he'll do really good movies, and then he'll do these like weird movies that just kind of are very slow burners, and this is one of them. But I'd say if you're looking for something that's a bit different, something that you actually kind of want to sit on and think
Well,
about
that's
for a
what
while,
I was
this
going to
is it.
ask you. Like, who is this movie for? Like,
I mean, if you're a fan of Nicolas Cage, it's for you, right?
Right.
If you're looking for kind of slower, I'd say like if you're a big fan of being John Malkovich, you really enjoy this one, and I was. Um, but like any weird Nicolas Cage pictures that he does, I think you'll really like. So it is for the people, like it's an A24 movie. So when you go those kind of movies, this is very much like that. So that's the best kind of lead in a
Bit of
movie.
weird, eccentric, like potentially low budget type stuff. Like,
Yeah, but the budget in this isn't low. It's just used well. I mean, like it doesn't look cheap. It's very well made. It's very well paced. It's just a movie that like requires investment. And not like I saw Napoleon as well this week. And
oh my
you
god,
know,
you saw everything.
yeah, man. I mean, it just happens sometimes. I have to try and catch up. But yeah, like and just opposed to that, like Napoleon is a movie that is very lavish and requires investment and time because it's 3 hours long. Now it's a good flick, but Dream Sequence is much more satisfying and a much smaller bite.
Okay. All right. Well, then, sure. I will come back to Napoleon there because I'm curious. But a film I know absolutely nothing about, which you told me you've seen, is Thanksgiving. What's the deal with that then?
Oh man. So this one is fun, right? It's a slasher movie based in Thanksgiving, right? So
Right.
basically, but it's like really unique. Well, it's unique until it's not, and then it's formulaic, right? But it's a slasher movie. The kills are very, very entertaining. It's extremely violent, like extremely violent. It's probably the most violent slasher movie I've ever seen.
Oh my
And
god.
yeah, but like in a comical way. But like
Okay.
there's just some absolutely gross bits in it. But I mean, it is kind of across that point where it's comedy. Um, but yeah, so basically it starts off on Black Friday. And like there's like this disaster where like people have killed each other on Black Friday because they're trying to get like TVs or waffle irons or something.
Your
And
typical American stuff, yeah.
yeah. So that's like the inciting incident, right? And then like a year later, there's all these killings that are happening from all these people who are involved with setting off the Black Friday store riot kind of thing. And the killer's going through bit by bit, and he's streaming it on the internet and that kind of stuff. So it's a cool little conceit, and it's something I've never actually like seen before. Like it's a really kind of like, obviously like Scream has kind of done this to death, and the end of it is kind of like the new Scream. But this is kind of like Prom Night. I don't know if you ever seen Prom Night, where
I heard good things about it. I haven't seen
yeah,
it.
the one in the 80s is better, but the one they did in like 2008 was pretty good too. But
Okay.
it's kind of like that where it's like it's taking a totally different setting and then putting the slasher vehicle in it.
Right.
It can work quite well, but like I'm not saying it's the greatest movie ever made. It really isn't. Like the dialogue is pretty horrific. It does have
Well, this
some
is my
part.
problem with horror movies in general. The trailers are all sort of clones of each other. It's really hard to tell what's a gem and what isn't. Like,
I mean, no, this would be a gem. Like I would say, absolutely go watch this,
okay,
right? But I mean, it does have problems of a horror movie, like of a slasher movie, because they're cheap to make, right? They're very quick turnaround. Um, and like yeah, the CGI is pretty bad sometimes. The acting is not great. The dialogue's pretty bad. But what really lets this down is literally the last 10 minutes, where it's the most formulaic thing in the world, and you're like, oh my God, like what are you doing? Like you had such a
oh, like kind of
good
coming up to the
movie.
end. Oh, there's four
Yeah,
of them left.
yeah,
We've got
exactly.
10
Yeah.
minutes. Let's sort this out.
And that's what happens. Yeah, that's how
Right,
at the
right,
end they're
right.
like, oh,
We've
we
run
have
out
to
of
wrap this up.
movie,
Yeah,
ladies and gentlemen.
yeah. And for me, that's where this completely falls down because it's
Right.
like it's so good even with the problems of a a low budget slasher movie. At the last couple of minutes, you're like, oh no. So it is quite good, I will have to say. Like if you're a big fan of Chopping Mall, if you're a big fan of Prom Night, this is one you're gonna like.
Well, here's my question: would this appeal to anyone outside of people who like the slasher tropes and stuff?
No, 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 no,
That's
no,
honest.
it won't. No, it won't. Not even a little bit. That's why I don't think it's been shown anywhere.
Would it appeal to people who like Thanksgiving, like the holiday?
I mean, yeah, maybe. A bit weird. Like, oh, I just want to watch a movie
Well,
about
it's what it
Thanksgiving.
is.
I know, but
It's called Thanksgiving. For the rest of time, when you Google Thanksgiving, it's going to be like the third result on Google.
I know, but I mean, it's a weird. That's a weirder question than it should be.
I'm sorry. Look, if you call a movie Easter, like you know, if you're like,
Yeah,
well, people who like Easter like it. You know, it's a valid question.
That's fair. No, okay. I take it back.
All right, let's fine. We'll put a pin in that for later then.
Yeah, you know what? You've actually given me pause to think about.
Oh, yeah?
that. I'm like, yeah. I'm sitting here, but like, yeah, maybe people, maybe that's what people do. Like, I really want to watch a Thanksgiving. You know what it could be? Okay, how about this?
Yeah.
Maybe it becomes a movie that people watch as a family on Thanksgiving.
Ah, and they'll have a lovely time until the last 10 minutes, and then
Well, I
like,
mean,
all the children dressed like pilgrims get very, very pale and worried.
it's a very horrific movie though to watch. Like, it's like, hey kids, let's watch this slasher movie.
like I'm thinking like the olden days of Extravision, where like you know you just pick something up because of the name of it. You know, you wouldn't get that really on streaming anymore. It tells you what it is. Like,
Yeah, I mean, look, this was a little hidden gem. And I mean, like, look, I have a Cineworld Black Card. I will just go and we'll see whatever's on. Like, if I'm stuck in town after work or something, I'll be like, oh, all right, I got like a couple hours, and that's how I see the movies, or in between training. I'm like, yeah, whatever. And you know, you'll just walk in and see it because I'll watch anything except the toy show, as discussed.
we're gonna invite you over for the toy show next year. Has to happen.
Oh, fair enough. I mean, I have no problem with that. Yeah, okay, let's do that then.
All right. Well, let's move on to something slightly more wholesome, we'll say. The Marvels. This is actually one I have seen, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on it.
Okay, you first.
Okay, well, you know me. I'm as close to being a Marvel shill without getting paid. I've got a real soft spot where Marvel's concerned. Love the comics, love the universe, even as its own thing. But went into this one with relatively low expectations. Which I don't know why I did. I liked Captain Marvel. I liked the WandaVision. I liked the Miss Marvel show. But yeah, even with that in mind, I was really pleasantly surprised by this one. It felt like it sounds like dabbing praise, but it felt like this one really didn't outstay its welcome. It felt like it was an hour and 40 minutes. It was brisk. There's some stuff I felt was left on the cutting room floor, which I'll get into, but what was left in there was it never felt like the movie was lazy, if you know what I mean. Like the first 20 minutes, they really mind, because the whole conceit of it is that for magic space reasons, every time one of the three Marvel characters uses their powers, they physically swap places in space. And that opening 20 minutes where it's like a fight sequence across Kamala Khan's house, across space, across a different bit of space. Oh, we're falling from the sky. Oh, suddenly we're in space. Well, it really felt like an elaborate set piece that harkened back to like the first Doctor Strange film, where it felt like, okay, it's not just punching on a green screen. We're taking this concept and really mining it for every creative possibility there is. And I really liked it. I really liked the characters. I thought it moved at a nice brisk pace. Like I said earlier, it was really charming. I liked that I know it's a Disney thing, but I liked that the villain wasn't a kind of a two-dimensional villain. And I just like we saw this in the middle of a wedding. We left, saw it, came back, and it just put me and Stevie, my wife, in a really good mood. We just really, really liked it, even though we weren't especially invested in the characters. So I really liked it. What did you think?
I mean, I didn't hate it.
All right.
You know, I watched it and I was look, I wasn't a big fan of Captain Marvel, right?
No, I remember.
I really wasn't. I don't like Monica Rambeau. I wasn't a big fan of Miss Marvel.
But you were. That's because of the PlayStation game, though, wasn't it?
And the comic book run and like her in general.
Well, that I'm surprised by because I like the comic book run.
Oh, the comic book, yeah. I mean, look, it's Marmite, really, isn't it?
Yeah, I suppose it's kind of it is what it is.
It is very much.
That's totally understandable. Yeah,
no, it very much is what it is. Like that's the problem with like 2015 Marvel. It really is Marmite. Like I really like the Daredevil run. Some people hate Mark.
Is that
it's Mark
Waid one?
Yeah, some people hate it.
I love that one. I discovered that recently. Yeah,
so do I. I mean, but it and that's kind of Marvel 2015, right? But that's pretty much why. However, right. So going in, I had like zero expectations, right? Like on the floor, okay.
Yeah.
Actually, through the floor. We've dug down a couple of but I will be honest with you, right? Love Miss Marvel. She's wonderful, right? She's the best part of it, right? I was like, oh my god, I want a series with her, and I know there is a series with her. But,
right.
You know, I want her being Miss Marvel. You know, what I mean?
Yeah.
She's delightful. I'm like, oh my god, why weren't you dissing the game? Why weren't you dissing the comic? So I think like one of the biggest problems, I had an epiphany after I watched this. I'm like, I need to stop judging things by the comic books.
Yeah.
And I think that's my big problem with this. I mean, I didn't really get it until I walked out of this movie. And I'm like, oh, that's why I'm so harsh on them, because I'm like, I'm still waiting for either how bad I either have a PTSD from the comics, or I'm expecting them to live up to the comics and not letting them do their own thing. So I thought this movie was really good. Like, it wasn't amazing. It wasn't the best movie ever. I didn't hate it. And that's probably the best praise I can give it. I did not hate it. I went in with no expectation. I went in expecting to be like, oh, this is going to be garbage. And some people are saying, oh, it's the worst thing ever. I'm like, no, it really...
Well, funnily enough, everyone, really, like, you know, I get to talk to kind of students about this kind of thing. Everyone I've talked to has been pleasantly surprised by this one. Like you said,
yeah.
Not like blown away, not like Guardians of the Galaxy 3 good.
Oh, yeah.
But like solid and enjoyable popcorn stuff, you know?
You know what? That's actually the best review I think you can give it. It's like, it's just a solid popcorn movie. I mean, you sit back, you watch it, it's not too long. It has some really good moments. Some of the shots in CGI are pretty good. Yeah, look, it's kind of silly, but I think like, and again, I don't really know, because some of the people who I would watch hate this movie. And then you're watching some people talk about it, and I'm like, do you really just hate this because there's 3 women in it? And like, is that really? Because that's, I mean, look, I'll be honest with you, I don't like to jump in and out of this, right? Because I really don't. It's not my thing. But if this movie was bad, I would be like, look, it's a bad movie, right? I have my problems with Black Panther, the first one, but it's still a good movie. I mean, my major problem with it is it looks like a PS2 graphics. The graphics are terrible, right? But
which is surprising considering the director is like solid, like, you know.
Yeah, but I think that's the VA the FX budget kind of thing.
Yeah,
you know? But I mean, when I watch people who criticizing this, they're not criticizing it for the movie. They're criticizing it just because of the women in it. I'm like, right. I mean, that looks really bad. I mean, you know, if that's what you're, and it's the same if people hate Black Panther for what he is rather than the movie. I'm like, dude, that's a you problem, right? But at the same time, it's like I just don't want. I don't know what movie they were watching. I
Yeah,
really
I
don't.
get what you mean. And like I know that we're like kind of two men talking about this and don't really have a stick in this conversation or whatever. But
Yeah,
like
but here's the thing. I mean,
no, but let me finish though.
sorry,
So
go on, go
compare
on,
that
go
to
on.
like the Harley Quinn film a few years ago,
Yeah,
where I love that, but it was
yeah.
kind of going out of its way to like, the villain was very, very coded, like toxic masculinity, all that jazz. None of that was really in this film.
You know what?
I
That's it. I
wouldn't
mean,
say that the fact that it's three women is incidental by any means, but it's not like an antagonistic film to its audience or anything like that, you know?
no, I mean it really isn't. Like, and that's why I'm so surprised. I'm like, look, yeah, the birds of play thing, fair enough. I actually like that movie too. And the thing is, I go into every movie, right? Usually, with the exception of one or two, I will go into every movie and be like, I'm just going to watch for it is. And
Mm,
some movies will beat you over the head with the message or anything like that. But you're like, listen, if your sole thing is you're upset that there's three women and two of them happen to be POCs, it's like,
mm.
that's really terrible. Like, I mean, what's your deal, man? Or woman, I don't really know. But at the
Yeah.
same time, it's just like they were not that bad. I mean, comics, yeah, fair enough. Some of the comics are terrible. The first Miss Marvel, I really couldn't stand. Then I
Mm.
watched it again. And I was like, actually, it's not so bad. I guess the question I have for you really is, do you think it's like people with their own baggage coming to this,
Oh, definitely, yeah. But I
or
think that's like, that's probably unfortunately quite normal for kind of tentpole things like that, especially because the Marvels has this weird thing where
it does have a
like
weird thing. It does
the
have a weird thing. It really
no, no,
does,
no.
yeah.
What I mean is just in terms of its release, it was set up ages ago
Oh,
with
okay.
the Miss Marvel thing. And then there was a huge, at least what felt like a huge gap in the year because Guardians and Ant-Man were really close together.
Yeah.
Marvels was coming out the other end of the year, and no other like Marvel cinematic projects were announced. So this had a good 6 or 7 months of weird anti-hype, if you know what I mean.
You actually predicted what I was going to ask you next.
Oh
I was
yeah.
going to ask you, are they come with their own baggage, but are they also like, do you think this is like kind of like an expectation of failure, which is,
Yeah,
which is
yeah. I mean, like it's I
like
think
anti-hype. I
I
like that
think
actually.
based on kind of the criteria of the Miss Marvel show and the original Captain Marvel film, people kind of decided this was going to be something preachy and cringy and that kind of stuff, and kind of arrived at that conclusion. I do think that
Yeah, I
there
think so
are
too.
people
Yeah.
who essentially made up their minds, went and saw it, and sort of cherry picked things to fit their pre-existing view. You know.
But I can't even find the things that you could pull from it. I'm like,
Mm.
look, fair enough.
There's an extended 10-minute musical scene. I wish was longer, but I heard
So do
people that
I.
didn't like,
I was like, I thought that was hilarious.
yeah,
And
I thought
then
it was
this,
hilarious. I kind of felt like,
there
again,
was
this
so
kind
much
of goes to
character.
the shorter runtime. I kind of felt like it stopped short of hitting its peak potential. Like, I wanted to see Miss Marvel fail at singing, you know?
No,
Like,
I mean,
I
no,
wanted to
no,
see like where it went next, you know?
no. I think it was paced just well enough because you got like if you got actually that's the scene that kind of won me over. I'll be honest
Hmm.
with you.
Okay.
Because like Miss Marvel just sitting there vibing to the whole thing, doing
Yeah.
a little dance, while the rest of them are like being deadly serious. It was hilarious. I'm like, she's actually just a kid who's like having the best time. And there's so much character work in her that you're like, this is the whole point, you know? And
Yeah.
it's just like, how are you missing this? You know,
And you know what? We were coming out of the cinema thinking, oh, that's just like a nice fun movie. But the more
yeah,
we talked about it, the more we realized actually this is a little bit dense in
it
its
is, yeah.
character because you've
Yeah.
got Captain Marvel flies off into space, leaves
Yeah.
this kid behind, Rambo, and so the Rambo essentially idolized her until she let her down, and
Yeah.
now they've got this damage. You've
Yeah.
got like Kamala Khan, who kind of worships Captain Marvel in a very superficial way,
Yeah.
and then in the mix of this, you have a villain who is the consequence of essentially Captain Marvel blundering into a situation without thinking through the consequences. And sort of they all sort of change places, I like in terms of their thinking by the end of the film. So like there is a like don't get me wrong, it's not the deepest thing in the world, but there's a fair bit of heft if you actually like pull on the strings of it, especially not to give it away considering where the Rambo character ends up at the end and all that. It does feel like there's a big thematic through line through it, you know?
Yeah. And I mean, that's kind of the thing that surprised me most about it. I was expecting to go in and not hate it, but not like just be like, oh, okay, the superhero fatigue is 100%
Mm,
here. And I think like a lot of people just really want that to be the case.
yeah.
But it's also kind of like, this is like the definition of a comic book kind of thing where you pick up an issue, you're like, oh, I was sorry. I enjoyed bits of that,
Yeah.
but I think this is kind of like we are seeing the tip now where they're readjusting a lot of things that's happening, they're
Mm,
reducing because it's like I'm okay with this kind of release. Even some of the Marvel stuff I haven't like, I just ignore it. I just don't care about. But at the same time, it's like you can't be spending $600 million on a comic book that is disposable. You know what I mean?
yeah.
And I think that's kind of why going into next year we're only getting Deadpool 3.
Is that all?
That's all, yeah.
Okay. Well,
And again, like also they need to kind of fix the fact that Kang isn't probably going to be a thing anymore.
yeah.
And they're gonna like I've heard they're gonna probably change it to Doctor Doom. So
We talked
it's
about that, the variety thing a
yeah,
few weeks ago. Yeah.
it's bad and it's good at the same time, as in like I think we hit the point where we're like, okay, now you're making comic books. But
Mm,
the problem with making comic books are one, they're not all good.
mm,
Two, the ones that are good, some people disagree with, which is like,
yeah.
as we said, Daredevil, Mark Waid's run in Daredevil. Either you love it or you hate it. I've
Mm,
never met someone who goes, "Oh, it's okay," you
yeah.
know. And we start making movies like that, you're dividing your audience, for whatever reason that we kind of talked about earlier on. But then there's a third big one, right? Comics are cheap to make. Movies aren't.
Yeah, that's true.
Movies aren't. So you
Yeah.
really need to
Well,
have some
actually,
kind of
like not to
plan.
kind of change something too much, but there's two things because you kind of mentioned this the superhero fatigue thing. Two kind of counterpoints to that. One, I think this film uses the MCU very well.
I agree.
Like I think like not just in a this is a good MCU film. I mean, the character who rescues the scrolls, that was a nice surprise. Kind of heading up to the pre-credits thing, that was nice. That, like I kind of highlighted this before we saw the film. I liked seeing Nick Fury mix with the Khan family and all that.
I did too. Yeah.
I feel like we kind of mentioned this a few weeks ago, but like I feel like the MCU is at its best where it feels organic and characters are coming and going in a way that makes sense, and it's not like character A, character B, slam them together in front of a green screen. You have a movie, you know. So I
Yeah. I
like
mean,
that
like,
element to it. Having said that, the second post credits thing, or I suppose you'd call it the only post credits, but you know what I mean. You'll know what I mean when I say about it.
when Beast shows up,
Introduces stuff, and for the first time, I kind of felt like, okay, you're reaching now. The
well,
Marvel universe is too crowded. This is the even though I love the character that was in that scene, I was like,
okay, hold
okay,
on.
we're kind of
Okay,
hitting
okay,
saturation, you know.
hold on. Okay, so Beast shows up, and
Yeah, okay, let's not beat around the
is that
bush, right? Yeah,
is that what you're talking about?
yeah.
Okay, like, that's interesting. Explain.
Well, okay. You've got two post-credit things. Apologies, spoilers, too late. I got really hyped when I saw there's a scene before the credits where essentially Kamala Khan reenacts the Nick Fury thing, bringing Kate Bishop
Ah,
into
yes,
her own
yes, yes, yes,
Avengers.
yes. That's very
That
good.
I felt was great
That
because
was a
like
good scene. It was, yeah.
they've been building this up for a while. Cassie Lang exists. Lots of the young Avengers exist. You know, let's just get it together, and she's a natural fit for that. When Beast and Binary actually, which is a nice deep cut, the other Captain Marvel in the other universe, when they turn up in the other universe, and like I'm so happy to see Kelsey Grammer playing Beast. That's the one thing we're deprived of in the way these films have fallen out. But like, I was kind of like, oh, there's so many plot lines going on in Marvel now, and now we've got the X-Men universe into like like we still haven't resolved the Eternals. Like
Well, see,
getting kidnapped.
I,
Blade
I
hasn't
can,
turned up yet.
I can answer this. I can
Yeah.
answer this. This is the reset button coming.
Oh, okay.
That's what this is. Like they had to bring in the X-Men somehow, but they haven't fully brought the X-Men in. Having Kelsey Grammer there. Look, I love him as Beast, but he probably won't be Beast for too much longer.
So it'll kind of lead
So
into Deadpool, like
it's lead into
yeah.
Deadpool 3, which apparently is a multiverse spanning thing.
Well, it
And
would
then
be like
yeah,
I mean,
and
he's the
then
satire one, yeah.
exactly, and then that will kind of like force reset the Marvel universe
Okay.
into what they're looking to do, and then that will set up Doctor Doom. So
Okay, all right. Just because
that's
like
what they're doing.
it's like I don't want to be like kind of old man, get off my lawn. But it did feel like in the first two or three phases, and I've been protective and defensive of phase four, but like it did feel like once upon a time, they drop a post credits thing, and it would be paid off relatively quickly within one or two films, you know. And
Well,
now
see,
it feels like there's so many things in the air that,
yeah,
like,
but
again, to go back to Miss Marvel, that show came out what, a year and a half ago?
there's no status quo now, and that's the problem.
Yeah.
So, like, the status quo was supposed to be Kang, but it can't be.
Yeah, but
For,
even if Kang was kept around and there wasn't any controversy or anything, you'd still have, like, you know, the cliffhanger from Shang-Chi hasn't been resolved, for example.
yeah, and
The Thunderbolts are still out there somewhere. Like, you know, it's all there's a lot of things in the air. Like,
as I said though, what they were trying to do, they were trying to make comic books as movies. You can't
right.
necessarily do that, but they were all building towards like what I think the plan was. How long have we got? 10 minutes?
5 minutes.
5 minutes? I think what the plan was, right? They were supposed to be like, right, we're going to put this all out here, and then we're going to just have them crash them together, as you said, action figures behind the green screen, and make a movie out of it, right? Bring it all together with Kang. Obviously, you have a multiverse, blah 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 blah, right? They can't do that now, right? So what I think they're doing is they're like, right, we're just going to kind of have a way to have a cake and eat it too. Bring in what we want to bring in, have your reset, and then put them around your big bad being Doctor Doom.
Right.
Now do I think we'll have Doctor Doom before or after? Definitely after, but
Right.
Deadpool 3 is going to set up whatever the big reset is going to be, and then that's going to be like the kind of bringing everyone together thing, and that's what they're talking about, bringing back Iron Man and all that kind of stuff as well.
Okay.
That to me that makes the most sense, and it does. And think about it again, right? If you guys think this is crazy, there's a comic book series called Crisis on Infinite Earths. It was done in the 90s. This is literally what DC did to fix this problem.
I know, but that's like Flashpoint stuff. If you
No, this isn't Flashpoint.
it's like
This is
time
Crisis on
travel.
Infinite
If you put that as an option in a fictional universe, it's very hard to take it off the table again, you know?
Yeah, no, but this is what Crisis did. Crisis fixed the multiverse completely. It just put it back into one timeline. And then I know other writers broke it again, but what Marvel are trying to do for all intents and purposes here, they're trying to actually fix this mess, push it all back in, and then because what they want to do is they want to have the continuity with the X-Men, with the Avengers. You want them all kind of existing in the same.
Well, Doctor
timeline.
Strange kind of gestured at that, the second one, yeah.
Yeah, he did, but the way to do that, they kind of have to have this big kind of conversions. And that's
Yeah.
what
Oh,
they're
and the
looking
Spider-Man film, of course, yeah.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah. Well, listen, we've got 3 minutes. Do you want to talk about Napoleon?
No, I want to talk about RoboCop.
All right, go on. You've waited long enough for this. Go on.
So RoboCop is a phenomenal game. It's made by the guys who made Remember I talked about the Terminator game that was really, really good? And
Yeah,
I couldn't
yeah.
remember how good it was. So the same group are making it, and they're not super high budget. They're not like a big production house, but they love these licenses from the 80s. So they made probably the best Terminator game ever, which is saying something because RoboCop first Terminator is amazing. And they've also made the definitive RoboCop experience, right? So RoboCop's been in some games. They're not great. RoboCop versus Terminator is obviously the best one, but you're not really being RoboCop there. This one, you're actually being RoboCop. So it's a first-person shooter, and you get to arrest people and shoot people in different ways, and it's just a really, really fun experience. You don't get to drive the car, unfortunately, but you also get like the terminal spike. So I mean, if you've seen RoboCop and you're like a fan of it, particularly 1 and 2, you're gonna love this one. And for me, I really am. And I've pretty much been waiting for this game my entire life, and I didn't even know I needed it that badly. So like, if you like Terminator, if you like RoboCop, pick up both the games on PS5 or PS4, and you just have a great time. Genuinely, if you take nothing else from this podcast, pick that up.
Okay. Well, I'm so glad you finally got to talk about that. I know that's been kind of pushed back and pushed back and pushed back.
Yeah, it's
remind me, what
niche.
consoles is it on?
So it is on. I have them both for the PS5, but I think they're both on the PS4 as well. But they're also for PC and Xbox and all that kind of stuff. So like, I mean, I've had a great time with it, and you can sink in. Like the upgrade system isn't great, but I mean, you're RoboCop. You're pretty much unbeatable.
Yeah. All right. What we didn't have time for tonight was the Doctor Who coming back, but there'll be another episode by next
We'll do it
week.
next week. We'll do it next week.
And of course, the Scott Pilgrim Netflix show, which
I need to see it. Is that out?
It is, and it's I won't tell you anything, but it is
Don't.
incredibly good. I don't binge things, but I watched this in 2 sittings.
Okay,
I watched it very quickly.
Actually, let me watch it because I do want to watch it.
I will say nothing. It is well worth seeing. But yes, so with our 1 minute left, is there anything you'd like to say before we go to credits or all whatever technical things you do in the edit?
Yeah, so we're not sponsored by them. I wish we were. But during the Black Friday sales, I actually got a bunch of Wicked Bricks Lego satellite display. And they're like they're a display solution basically for your Lego. I think I talked about them already, but man, they're so great. Like just I built the Executor one, and the Avengers, like the small little Avengers Tower one, and they look like proper bits of art instead of just random stuff you have in your room. So, I mean, if you're stuck for it and you want like a cool way to actually display your Lego so it doesn't get dusty, but also looks like looks the part. I can't recommend them enough. Genuinely, it's been a discovery. Now they're expensive, like not cheap, but totally worth it.
Okay, well then, we'll be back next week with our thoughts on the first 2 Doctor Who episodes with David Tennant now, as well as Scott Pilgrim, and probably some other wonderful unexpected things, because news always comes out as soon as we finish recording the show.
Oh man, absolutely.
Absolutely. You can set your watch by it. Wednesday, about 11 o'clock, something will happen. That's when we finish recording.
News. It's always huge
but
news.
We'll find out in between that and next week. So until then, I've been Cian.
I've been there.
And we will see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to a Nerd to Know Media production.